The pre-made high school sucks. In my opinion, it's missing fundamental elements to a high school. It lacks realism, clutter, and just things that make sense for high school. It's pretty horrible looking, especially after seeing what was shown in the trailer. Although, when are Sims 4 trailers ever based on how the game works or looks? Am I right? Actually, this is something I talked about a very long time ago, how the trailers don't properly reflect the gameplay. Ever. Anywho, here are some things I did to improve the high school. First and foremost, you could install mods to make your high school experience exactly the way you want it. There's a mod so you can choose your high school classmates, there's another one to form groups in school, and there's another one to introduce new moodlets, notifications, and other things like that for teenagers in the game. All of these mods are really cool, and I highly recommend checking them out. And I bet you there's going to be tons of new mods based on high school years to improve the experience. There is one mod in particular that makes it so that you can place a high school in other worlds. Zerbu, which I don't think I said your name right, I'm sorry. Their venue changes mod is the one I'm talking about. It makes it possible. You can find the link for it in the video description. Now you can create custom high schools in whatever world and create it to match that world's theme, which is very cool. I imagine there'd be a lot of creativity with that. This is very nice because it honestly was such a shame that we could only have the one high school originally. One of the biggest things missing from this school would be a gym. At my high school, we had 2 gyms, and I've been to high schools that have had 3. So why is this one missing 1? It's a staple for schools to have a gym. Where else are you supposed to graduate and do that horrible beep test thing? Ugh. It's bizarre that they included a little weight room in the basement. This whole basement setup feels so very odd to me and uncomfy. This 3-room thing that they have going on down here is not it. Anyways, I highly recommend that you add a proper gym to your school. You could even include a small gym as well as a large gym or a weight room if you'd like. I made mine look like a basketball court because that's pretty typical of a gym to have a basketball setup. I also put in this little closet type thing in the background. I was trying to make it look like there was those racks full of soccer balls and basketballs and everything like that, but I couldn't really find a rack that suited that look. I also put a cheerleading mat on this side of the basketball court. I thought this would be a perfect place for any cheerleaders to come practice during lunch or after school. In fact, this would be the perfect meeting area to have a cheerleading or sports-focused club. If you want to get very fancy, you could include a swimming pool somewhere in the school. But beware, your teachers and fellow students might show up to class looking like this, which I would not feel comfortable with. Another classic feature of any school I've ever been to in real life would be a library. I don't understand why they didn't include a library in the original school design. And you know what? I have to once again bring up this basement area. It feels like these 2 rooms are supposed to be kind of like the library, but not really. And it's just plain creepy and, like I said, uncomfy.
This basement is giving me the creeps.
And I'm not even talking about the fact that these rooms are in the basement. I've been to a school before where the library was in the basement and it didn't feel creepy. It's just that these 3 rooms feel like an afterthought. Like they're very plain and there's only one focus to each of these rooms. It was like they realized after they were done building the school that they didn't have the dedicated rooms for the after-school activities. Oh no. We need a chess club room and a computer room and a room for cheerleaders and footballs. Might as well put in the basement. I don't know. It's unnatural looking and feeling. Anywho, adding a library would make the school look and feel more like a proper school. I kind of based my library location on my real life high school. Our library was on the 2nd floor, and it was much bigger than the one I put into the school, but I didn't want to make the school any bigger than I had to. I made sure to include the chess tables and computers in here, so that, you know, those after-school activities can still happen if you wanted them to. Although they're rabbit holes, but if you were to set up a club for that club, then you could use this room. I feel like the library is kind of completely pointless in The Sims 4. You don't need all these books because they could just go up to one bookshelf or one stack of books and get anything. But it does make me happy because it looks realistic. One of the biggest things I don't like about this high school would be the lack of students. I can understand having only 2 classes running at once for game performance reasons and stuff like that, but at least give us some Sims just hanging out around the school. Give the other room some purpose, please. I've never seen a Sim in this room at all. Something that really highlights the lack of students would be the fact that this huge cafeteria only has 3 tables. Is ridiculous and very sad looking. That's why I've upgraded my cafeteria so it looks like there's a ton of students attending the school, even though there isn't. Maybe there is a mod out there that'll actually increase the number of students that attend. If you know of something like that, let me know. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. But anyways, I included a little stage area because typically for the cafeterias that I've been in, there's been some sort of stage situation, you know, for plays and announcements and things of that nature. I also include this little servery. I tried to make it look like the servery from my high school in real life, but it does not at all. Although it does make it feel a little bit more realistic, in my opinion. I know that I added a ton of tables, but this is what a cafeteria looks like. Maybe if I do end up playing high school years some more, I'm gonna have to just imagine that it's a snow day or bad weather day, and it's a bad weather day every day, and that's why there's not a lot of students here. Yeah, I don't know. What I do know is that I enjoy the realistic cafeteria way more than the original. This is such a small detail that should have been included. Lockers on both sides of the hallways. Why, oh why, did they put the lockers on one side but not the other? It's bizarre looking. Why does this school feel like an AI made it after studying poorly designed schools? Even in the trailers, they had hallways with lockers on both sides. Why did they have to make it like this in the game? So yeah, to fix this, I put lockers on both sides of the hallways. Easy fix.
That was easy.
Moving on to the classrooms. They are very bland. It reminds me of any of the Max's made builds, especially the hospital from Get to Work. It's empty, it's lacking life, and there's no clutter. The no clutter thing is actually a big deal for this build. Schools are generally not so empty. There are posters, books, folders, numerous cabinets, and so on and so forth. Even just garbage cans in the hallways and the classrooms. My favorite classrooms were always the ones filled up with the personal touches from the teachers. The one in particular had history-related propaganda posters and quotes around the room. It was interesting to look at, and you can tell whose room it was and what subject they taught. These classrooms are the opposite of that. They're giving nothing. No personality, no subject theme, no signs of life, nothing. That's why I highly recommend giving them a complete makeover. Despite the fact that the classrooms will be used for every subject, it's cool to give the classroom a theme to it. Make it a science lab, make a language room, a math class. It doesn't really matter that the subjects won't match the room, and honestly, it's like that in real life. I took a business class in the Comtech room in grade 12, so who cares really? Giving the rooms a theme and introducing clutter items will instantly make it feel realistic. We're going to circle back around to the second and third points for our final improvement. Don't stop with just creating a gym or a library. Make extra classrooms. Make an art class, a computer lab, and a photography studio. Even though the students won't actively use those rooms during school, they could still have purpose. You could use them as a club hangout location, an art room for local artists or knitting club, a science lab for brainiacs, a photography studio for aspiring models and photographers, or maybe even your future or current actors. A gym for any sports or scouts. It doesn't even need to be teen-focused clubs that use these spaces. I know that in real life, schools are used by many different groups from the community for many different reasons. A toddler playgroup could use the gym. An elders painting class could meet in the art room. The cafeteria could be used for a public speaking club. a political organization, or for clubs that exist for Sims to make friends in. If you stop thinking of the school as an education-only, teen-only location and think about it as a community lot, you'll realize that there are lots of different uses for it. If you have already rebuilt your high school and included things that weren't previously featured, please let me know what it was. I'm very curious about what people have changed with the high school. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I can't wait to talk to you in the next one. Thank you again. Bye!